Hi guys, we're just going to wrap up a bit of cricket from the weekend. Wadey, a really good series whitewash of Australia, and we're always looking for positives when it comes to the Proteas, and there's been few and far between, but they've had a really good series against Australia. Some new faces performing really well, and thankfully after the horrors of last year and that World Cup and some testing times, it does look like there's a bit of a silver lining to what was a dark cloud not that long ago.
Yeah, it's great to sit here on the back of a clean sweep against Australia. We actually have had the stronghold over them in ODI cricket, so we just carried that on, which was important, especially after the manner of that T20 series defeat. And what we've done is we've unearthed a bit of talent and given guys that needed the chance to come back and fire. Heinrich Klaasen did really well. David Miller's seriously looking composed and a leader of the middle order. And then we've added a few new faces, and guys are scoring runs. And importantly, the bowling unit has also continued to be steady in the face of some strong batsmen in Warner, Smith, Finch, Marnus Labuschagne, etc.
Yeah. I think what impressed me most was that you saw them performing without a number of big names. Rabada's been out of the picture, Faf du Plessis and Rassie van der Dussen, and yet they've gone with a few youngsters and talented guys that have come through, and they've really stepped up and performed. And then in addition to that, Quinton De Kock, who's the leading batsman for sure in the Proteas setup, has failed throughout this ODI series against Australia, and yet they've managed to perform with the bat, even chasing targets, which has always been a bit problematic. Yeah. And some guys have really stepped up. Heinrich Klaasen for me has been incredible. Someone who faced real disappointment in not going to the World Cup, in it as the leading run scorer. Just his composure at the crease, he's kept things simple, but he looks in incredible form, and someone that I think suddenly blew the lights out in the series, and that's really important both in T20 and ODI cricket.
Yeah, I think what I'm looking for is that hopefully that the way we've conducted ourselves, particularly in our batting, where guys have been coming in and steadying their ship and batting through and laying the platform, which is what this simple guide to ODI cricket is all about, is that I hope that is a strategic thing coming from the coaching staff. I know that Mark Boucher is determined as ever to get this team back to where it should be. And so I hope that, with Janneman Malan coming in that second innings after the disappointment of a golden duck in his first outing and going through and batting alongside David Miller, and then Klaasen has done that as well. John Smuts, he was stuck around for quite some time on Saturday too. We just took the game deep, and then all of a sudden, with wickets in hand and scoreboard pressure, Australia were the ones that folded, where sometimes we tended to push the tempo a little bit too quickly, a little bit too early, getting a little bit flustered if we lose our main batsman, and then we just folded like a house of cards. So maybe this time now the players have got a little bit more self-belief, a little bit clearer guidance from the coaching staff, and they believe in themselves. I think that's something that Boucher will certainly do as a coach. Is he'll bring in players who he backs, and he will tell them, look, I'm here for you, but you've got to go out there and deliver the goods.
Yeah, I'm going to throw another curveball into the mix here. I mean, just looking at the way Klaasen's performed, someone who can keep and take the gloves, and Kyle Verreynne, another guy, very talented batsman, but he's also capable of keeping. Do we get to a point, maybe not now, but possibly certainly worth consideration, is whether Quinton relieves himself of the keeping duties, allows him to focus on the captaincy and just batting, or is he the sort of guy that is never going to be someone standing at long on or fine leg and captaining from there? Because I'm not sure if he's really ever played much cricket where he's not keeper, but sometimes it just looks like perhaps too much responsibility for him to consider captaincy and to keep, where you have to concentrate every ball, and then for him to perform as the opening batsman.
Now, what about changing the picture completely, playing him as a batsman only, not captain and not keeping? I think with Klaasen and Verreynne, we've certainly got the gloves ticked. We do need to find ourselves a captain. Although Boucher speaks very highly of Quinton and his tactics and thinking outside of the box, I just feel, for a guy that's so good at batting and is so key as our true world-class performer with the bat, why risk adding any sort of extra burden onto him, extra things that he doesn't really need to worry about? I mean, his primary focus needs to be on making runs. Can't we find someone else that we can entrust to take the captaincy role over? That said, perfectly happy with him to be a captain and batter. But sure, I think it's time to relieve him of the gloves.
Yeah, maybe one of those things where we're doing well and now we're looking to fix things that aren't broken. But for me, Van der Dussen could be a captaincy option. There aren't too many others, and perhaps that's why it's fallen to De Kock, who never really struck as a natural captain or leader, but he's done a pretty decent job, and maybe he thinks a little bit outside the box. He's certainly a different sort of character, but just another one to consider. Before long, the attention's going to go to that T20 World Cup. The limited over signs, they do seem to be improving. The death bowling is going to be something that we have to talk about, because it's always been a question of whether during that vital 2, 3, 4 final overs, can South Africa bowl enough, deliveries, Yorkers, in that popping crease to kind of really dry up the runs. What have you seen that gives you hope, or do you feel like that's always going to be an Achilles heel?
I feel like what I'm liking is we've got enough depth at the moment. We just need guys to step up. We need guys to put up their hands and say, look, I'm the death bowler, like they've done in the past. What I really like is our fielding seems to be on the up. David Miller is leading the charge. I mean, he was phenomenal in the field against Australia in the last game, and Kyle Verreynne, is known to pouch a few good ones, even though he's a wicketkeeper playing in the outfield. So at least with that saves you a few runs in building pressure. So Ngidi for me will be one of the death bowlers. He seems to have enough variation and enough ability to execute that. It's a fine skill. I know that Charles Langenfeld sent the bowlers home in a break to go and work on their death bowling, to go and work on their Yorkers. So I think that's going to be the homework from now until the rest of the series. We need to really just up that intensity and up the number of Yorkers we attempt. I know that in the T20 series, a lot of those were turned into sort of hip-hop full tosses and that were dispatched for 6. So I believe that the bowler's got to be good enough. So we've got Ngidi. Rabada will be there. Whether he takes the responsibility of bowling the death, I'm not quite sure. But we've got enough. Andile Petukwaya is another one that can do that job. So yeah, the signs are certainly there. We'll need to find out our best 11 now with a guy like Klaasen. He's batting so well that we need to see where he fits into the picture. Yeah,
I think Shamsi and Nortje were both really brilliant this series as well, and they've shown that they're capable of stepping up. But let's just wrap with talking about Janneman Malan, somebody who's come in and looks like he's born for that international stage. How impressed were you just with the composure he showed, especially, of course, that second ODI century where he really just led the charge, batted through the entire innings. I think he's someone who is going to be around for a long time, and it makes it very difficult for an Aiden Markram, I think, to get back into the squad. And that's another thing of building competition that really brings out the best.
Yeah, I think this break would have done wonders for Aiden Markram. I know he came back in the Momentum One Day Cup and scored a century himself. So he'll be back and getting into form. He's got so much quality and so much class that he has to be involved in the picture. But now he's got to fight for his place, whereby it looked like he was just going to come back and they were just going to throw him in there because he's clearly the best. I mean, Malan showed there what he's about. It was some seriously intelligent batting. He really just took the game deep. If he got a boundary with the first 2 balls, he rotated the strike. It was a pleasure to see. And we just kept the scoreboard at that required rate. Australia never thought they were out of it, 1 wicket, but he never got out. And with David Miller, the two of them just batted so supremely well and just handled the situation, which the more these guys do that, the better we will be in the long-term future. I know that the World Cup's a long way away, but the planning, like rugby's always got to be in cycles. So hopefully we're looking at guys now who are going to build up all the way to the next World Cup.
Cool, thanks. Let's wrap it there.